Welcome to this first video of the second module of the MOOC on EU space governance. The current patchwork of EU space governance is quite complex. It involves traditional EU institutions like the European Commission. There are specialized bodies that only deal with specific space tasks. Member states and international organizations are also closely involved in the governance of the EU space program. And because space is an international area with global stakes, we need to look at the actors that represent EU interests at the international scene as well. The next videos in this module will discuss these actors separately and will give specific examples of how they contribute to EU space governance. There are other actors too, like the European Defence Agency, which have a role in space, but these will be covered in another module. In this video, we will focus on three actors: the European Commission, the EU Agency for the Space Programme, and the EU Satellite Centre. Now, before any specific space bodies were established in the EU and before the Union had any space projects to begin with, the Commission, together with the Parliament and the Council of the EU, was instrumental in putting space on the agenda. In the 1970s and 80s, the Commission set the tone with the adoption of a series of documents that emphasized the importance of space, not as a policy area of its own, but as a key tool to better realize the core tasks of what then was the European community. To this day, the EU space program is still used in this way, as a tool to support agriculture, environment, energy, foreign and security policy, research and innovation, transport, and many other policy areas. A first institutional step that reflected this importance of space for the EU was the establishment by the Commission of the Space Advisory Group, or SAG, in 1992. The aim of this group was to facilitate discussions between the various DGs, or Directorate Generals, of the Commission that were responsible for different policy areas that could benefit from space. This was a first step towards promoting a comprehensive European space policy. Following treaty changes in 2001, space started to emerge as its own policy area within the EU. This led to institutional consequences within the Commission that also reflected the changing role of space in the EU. First, space was approached within the EU mainly as a scientific issue, and therefore it was brought under the umbrella of the Commission's DG for Research and the Joint Research Centre, or JRC. Later, however, space was transferred to the DG for Enterprise and Industry. This emphasized the strong industrial commercial dimension of space activities. Finally, DG Enterprise and Industry was renamed the DG for Defence, Industry and Space, or DEFIS. The name change is more than conceptual. As a result of the changes in the Lisbon Treaty, space is now recognized both as a separate EU policy area and as a key tool with commercial and strategic importance. The tasks of the various EU institutions in space are currently laid down in a 2021 regulation establishing the Union Space Programme. Now, although the Commission, the Council and the Parliament collaborate on specific issues to implement this programme, especially on budgetary matters, the Commission clearly emerges as the key actor on space. The Commission, and DG DEFIS in particular, has the overall responsibility to implement the EU space programme and to promote the use of this programme. Specifically, the Commission is responsible for implementing the following flagship projects of the EU. First, Copernicus, or the European Earth Observation Programme. Second, Galileo, or the European Global Navigation Satellite System. And third, EGNOS, or the European Geostationary Navigation Overlay Service. For each of these projects, the Commission determines the main technical and operational requirements necessary to implement their services. The Commission has a key role in other projects as well, such as SSA, or Space Situational Awareness, and secure governmental satellite communications. Currently, that's in govsatcom. We have a new project coming up called IRIS² that is going to amplify and ameliorate that program. Now, since space is a complex field, the Commission can entrust specific tasks, including technical tasks, to other actors with specific expertise on the matter. However, as a linchpin of the EU space program, it is the responsibility of the Commission to ensure a clear division of tasks and responsibilities between the various entities involved in the program. The Commission has to coordinate the activities of all these entities and ensure that they promote synergies with other related Union programs. Now, the evolution of space as a separate policy area in the EU goes hand in hand with the creation of specialized institutions that are responsible for some of the more technical aspects of the EU space program. For this reason, the 2021 regulation established the EU Agency for the Space Programme, or EUSPA. EUSPA replaces and succeeds the GSA, or European GNSS Agency, which had been established for the management of the EGNOS and Galileo programs. EGNOS and Galileo are complex systems that require intensive coordination. Building on the expertise of the GSA, EUSPA now coordinates all operational tasks relating to the exploitation of the European GNSS systems. It also provides expertise to the Commission and ensures the security accreditation of all components of the EU space program. For this last task, the agency has a separate security accreditation board, which acts as a microcosmos of the various EU institutions that are involved in space. First, it brings together a representative of the Commission with, secondly, a representative of each member state of the EU, and thirdly, a representative of the High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy of the European Union. Like the Commission, EUSPA can rely on the expertise of other entities within or outside of the EU. Within the EU, we have the example of the EU Satellite Centre. The SATCEN is a technical agency located in Spain that supports EU decision-making and action in the context of the common foreign and security policy. It provides services based on satellite imagery that can, for example, help the Council of the EU decide on conflict management missions. Outside of the EU, EUSPA closely cooperates with the European Space Agency, or ESA. Complex, it doesn't have to be, so let's give an example of how the various actors in EU space governance work together in Galileo, perhaps the most well-known of the EU's flagship programs in space. As you may know, Galileo is Europe's global navigation satellite system. It provides accurate and reliable positioning and timing information used, for example, in mobile phones, cars, railways, aviation, and other sectors as well. Galileo has been operational since December 2016 and offers higher accuracy than GPS. The Galileo program is fully funded and owned by the EU. The governance structure of Galileo involves, again, three main actors. First, the European Commission has overall responsibility for the program. It manages and oversees the implementation of all activities on behalf of the EU. Secondly, since the 2021 regulation, the Commission has delegated the operational management of the program to EUSPA. This agency oversees how Galileo infrastructure is used and ensures that Galileo services are delivered as planned without interruption. And then finally, Galileo's deployment and design and the technical development of its infrastructure is entrusted to ESA. As such, each actor works together in accordance with its own expertise. Now, we already said there are many other institutions apart from the ones we covered here. We will discuss these actors and their role in EU space governance in the next videos and modules. In the meantime, make sure you understand these basic actors in the EU and their role in space governance.